Hey folks, how you doing? I guess I'm parachuting into the Breakfast Club once again, and I thought what better to do if I'm going to be addressing the Breakfast Club than to address some comments on a Breakfast Club video. Not mine, but Agent of Doubt, since it's about a topic that Agent of Doubt and Got That Funk have both been talking about, and was kind of the side subject of the video I did just recently. And in this video, where Agent of Doubt did why I remain skeptical of Dr. Blasey Ford and Judge Kavanaugh, which actually I'm generally in agreement with Agent of Doubt on, I left the comment, "It's not so much as I believe as the story sounds plausible. Sounds like many of the parties I was at in the 80s. It's Kavanaugh's response that bothers me. Even if the allegations are false, his demeanor points to some serious character flaws that, in my opinion, disqualify him for the job." And Eagle Eye licks conservative taint all day, every day. That last comment I thoroughly stand behind. But I digress. As a response, Ask a Conservative, who also does stuff for the Breakfast Club, left the comment, "I'd love to see what Robert Wallace's demeanor would look like if some random woman called him a gang rapist and threatened his family with death. Oh, and offered zero evidence for the politically motivated allegation. I'm sure he'd be cool as a cucumber." Interesting point. You see, the problem with that is I am not being nominated for a lifetime position in the Supreme Court. It doesn't matter how I would react. What matters is how Kavanaugh would react. And you see, that's kind of the problem I had. You see, in watching his testimony, I was seeing behavior that triggered in my head. You know, and it's stuff where I've seen this behavior before. Couldn't quite 100% place it, but I'm looking at this behavior going, I've seen this before, and this behavior makes me feel very uncomfortable. This is the behavior of somebody that my gut's telling me I can't trust. And this is part of what I learned when I used to be a homeless drug addict, heavy drinker and whatnot. When you're living on the streets in that situation, you learn how to read people. You might not have the professional classifications of what's this and what's that, but you learn how to read people. You learn how to read personality traits. So after a while, as a self-preservation measure, you can come across somebody and you see them behaving in a certain manner, and part of your head goes, I've seen this before. Watch out for this fucker. There's something squirrely here. You know, and that will save your life on the streets, is learning how to read people like that. So when I was watching Kavanaugh give his testimony, I got that spidey sense, that tingle. I've seen this behavior before. Couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I saw it and the flag went up. It's like, this is somebody I can't trust. I don't think he's qualified for this position. And it's after his testimony, days later, I saw somebody refer to him as a dry drunk. And they started explaining his behavior as a dry drunk. And that's where it clicked in my head. Yes, that's where I've seen that behavior before. I spent enough time in NA and AA where I recognize that behavior. Now, obviously I didn't stick with NA and AA, but that's not the point. The point is, the dry drunk, it means that you put him in high-stress situations, such as something a Supreme Court justice would routinely be in. It leaves them with they're going to quite likely act irrational given the right stimuli put in. You know, and we have also seen during his testimony him making very politically partisan comments that would mean that he could not rule fairly. He would be more likely to rule along Republican and conservative lines. That is not a fair judge if they intend to rule that way. And he clearly signaled that. With his dry drunk behaviors, I'm looking at this and I'm going, I don't trust the guy. And that's where it was. It doesn't matter how I would react to it. It doesn't even matter if the allegations against him were true or not. It doesn't actually matter. It's his behavior, his actions, the few moments that just let slip of what's happening behind his eyes. That's what made me go, man, this guy is not set for the Supreme Court. Not only that, now the Supreme Court's going to have a taint on it, which has been growing for years. I know during 2010, when Citizens United was being debated in the Supreme Court, there is enough evidence to suggest that Antonin Scalia and Clarence Thomas were both on the take. Clarence Thomas's wife had a Tea Party organization that received a large donation of cash, and Antonin Scalia was taking all expense-paid vacations that he wasn't paying for. And if you follow the money for this, you can actually trace this money back, not too many steps, to people who actually benefited directly from Citizens United, which was being decided by the Supreme Court at the time. It already looks like the Supreme Court is on the take. Now, Antonin Scalia is dead, but, he's been replaced and the court is now morphing to where it looks like we're going to have routine 5-4 breaking along the lines of Republicans. And this is important because Donald Trump, should he be impeached after the midterm elections, it might happen, we don't know, but that's going to go before the Supreme Court, in which Kavanaugh has already said that he thinks that the president shouldn't even be able to be tried like that. And various other stuff he's going to rule. So that right there puts the Supreme Court in even more doubt as to whether or not the Supreme Court can be impartial. And then, once again, the dry drunk. What if he has blackmail material out there that hasn't been found yet? I mean, it sure looks like Donald Trump has blackmail material. Sure looks like a lot of our current federal government has compromat, senators, fucking the president, and now the Supreme Court is looking like our entire government is quite possibly corrupt, quite possibly being in the position where they can be blackmailed. And this is all a problem. And it all goes back to putting a Supreme Court justice on the court that is, he looks like he's a dry drunk. He may even be an active alcoholic. We don't fucking know. But either way, what I see in there, his performance, that'd be an insight into what his character is. And this is just, it's a survival instinct to learn how to read people like that. I could be wrong. It's possible. And all these things are just my opinion. But, to say I'd like to see how he'd react, doesn't matter how I react. I doubt I could get elected to the school board. And I am certainly not up for a lifetime appointment in the Supreme Court. And that thing, little character flaws can make very, very big differences. And opinions can have very, very big rulings for most of America. I mean, there's some people, and I can't believe this might actually be part of the power play of the Christian Dominionists in their attempt to make America a Christian country. And there's a whole conspiracy behind that. And it's not impossible. They sure would like to overturn Roe v. Wade, and they keep talking like he's the guy to do that. Maybe this is the power play to turn America into a Christian nation under biblical law. Atheists are going to have a problem with that. People who aren't Christian might have a problem with that. Certainly anybody who's poor is going to have a problem with that. All of this is stuff you can see in the Kavanaugh thing, But that's what's in my head. That's my answer to a comment on a Breakfast Club video for a Breakfast Club video. Anybody who stuck around, thank you for your time. And now back to your regular schedule of drooling. Okay, that's